Lindsey Graham asks top Army officials point blank if U.S. would beat Iran in an all-out war. Hey y'all, and welcome to Malcolm Varon Hearing. My name is Malcolm, and Senator Lindsey Graham just unleashed a firestorm in Congress, rattling off a doomsday list of threats from Iran to China, while practically begging for a blank check to supercharge the military budget, all while preaching that Death to America Day is somehow strategic justification for all-out war. Buckle up, folks. Fear-mongering just got a rebrand. Let's get into it.
Senator Graham, followed by Senator Baldwin, and then Senator Moran.
Thank you both. Good morning. Thank you both. The FY25 Army budget was $185.9 billion. Mr. Secretary, that's a lot of money, right?
It is.
Yeah, well, I think we need more, and I think most of us up here understand that. Budgets need to be based on threats. So let's walk through the threat matrix real quick to America and see if we need more spending on the military list. Putin. Is there any indication, General, that Putin's going to stop his effort to dismember Ukraine anytime soon?
Well, it's hard for me to predict anything, but I would say
well, let's go. Last night was the biggest attack on Kyiv, and they killed an American citizen. So as of last night, he doesn't seem to be willing to stop, does he?
Yes, you're right, Senator.
Yeah, I hadn't seen any intel. I mean, does anybody up here think that he's slowing down? I don't. So we spent a lot of our ordnance and military equipment to help Ukraine, right, Ms. Secretary?
We did.
And the reason we're doing that so that we don't get in a war with Putin. You know, if he gets to a NATO country, we're in a war with Russia, right? We're trying to stop him now.
I believe that was the theory of the case.
Yeah, well, that's the good theory of the case. So if Putin's not slowing down, seems to me we're going to be needing to help Ukraine more and be sending a deterrent message to Putin. Let's go to Iran as a threat matrix. How would you rate Iran's threat to the United States, General George?
I would rate the threat as more, there's a couple regional, I think is the biggest to our interests that are out in the Middle East with the troop concentrations that we have there, other interests and partners and allies.
Do you know what November the 4th is in Iran? Do you know? It's Death to America Day. In 1987, Iran made November the 4th Death to America Day. That's a hint what they think about us. Do you believe, Ms. Secretary, that President Trump is right to say no nukes for Iran?
I totally support the president.
Do you believe Iran would use a nuke if they had it against Israel and maybe us?
It's hard to answer a hypothetical.
Why is it hard to answer? They say it. They write death to Israel, death to America on the missile. That's not hard. They have 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium at 60%. What commercial purpose is there for highly enriched uranium at 60%? I'll answer it for you, zero. They got enough highly enriched uranium at 60% to make a bunch of bombs. Why do they have one of their enrichment programs at the bottom of a mountain? Do you know?
I would hypothesize for security.
Yeah, I would hypothesize that they want to enrich and make sure they're safe in doing it. So let's stop playing this game that Iran is like an uncertain enemy. They say it, they mean it, they're going to do it if somebody doesn't stop them. Do you agree that we're in the land of force now, General George, when it comes to stopping Iran's nuclear ambitions?
Can you repeat that question again? We're in
Do
the
you
what?
believe that it seems to be that the only option available to us now to stop their nuclear ambitions is force?
I don't know. I know that they're still reaching
watch
out to make
television?
sure. I do.
Okay,
I do
well,
watch
I mean, seems to
news.
me diplomacy for 60 days. One, Mr. President, thank you for reaching out to Iran. Thank you for reaching out to Russia. Thank you for trying to find a peaceful solution. But it seems to me that we're full on engaged, at least Israel, to take down their their nuclear program before us. Is that a fair statement, that Israel's made a decision to take their nuclear program down by force?
I think that's obvious.
Yeah, I think so too. And do you agree with President Trump's decision that a nuclear-armed Iran is a threat to us?
Again, I think the president's been clear that he doesn't want Iran to
No,
have
I mean, do
nuclear
you agree with
weapons.
that? Do you think it's a threat to us?
That we don't want Iran to have
Yeah.
nuclear weapons? Yes, I agree
Yeah,
with that.
I don't think we do. I don't think we do for a lot of reasons. China, do you think China will take our Taiwan by force if America and the West seems weak in the eyes of China?
I think deterrence is incredibly important in making sure that
Do you
we
think
have
we
that
may have
ability.
lost deterrence after our withdrawal from Afghanistan, Mr. Secretary?
I think that the withdrawal absolutely
Yeah,
harmed
I
our
think
global
we
standing.
have, we need to regain it. Do you think ISIS and Al-Qaeda is still out there trying to find ways to kill us here at home, General George?
I do think that
Okay, so
there's
the
still a
threat matrix is about as large as I can remember. So to those who wondering, should we spend more in the military? We should. And the goal is to spend money in the military to prevent war, but if you get in one, to win it. So last question. The Ayatollah said today that if we help Israel destroy their nuclear program, and he's not going to give it up, he said that today, there'd be all-out war with America. Did you hear that today?
Yes, I did. read
Okay.
that.
So are you confident that America has the ability, nobody wants a war, but if we got in an all-out war with Iran, we would win?
I think we're confident for 250 years the United States Army has
Yeah, I do
achieved
too.
every
My
goal we've
money's
been
on the
given.
Army, my money's on the military. I don't want a war, but if you pick a fight with us, you're gonna lose. To our friends in Israel, keep it up. We got your back. Taking that program down is an existential threat to Israel and to us. This is a moment of choosing for the world. I hope everybody understands that if they get a nuclear weapon, they're religious fanatics, they're religious Nazis, they would use it. I don't believe that about Rocket Man. I don't believe it about Putin. I don't believe it about China, but I believe it about these folks. And this is a moment of choosing, and we better get this right. And if you get it right, normalization's back on the table. China's less likely to go into Taiwan, and Putin we'll have a new conversation with him. If we get it wrong, the world's going to blow up even worse than it is today. God bless you. God bless the Army.
While Senator Graham was busy rallying the Pentagon with apocalyptic hypotheticals about war with Iran, the conversation on Capitol Hill took a sharp turn, straight into accountability territory. Over in another hearing, Senator Peters put Pete Hegseth on the spot with a pointed question about responsibility. Let's take a look.
Peters.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Kane, both before and during your confirmation hearing, we discussed your commitment to duty and to adhering to the Constitution as well as your oath of office. And I certainly appreciated your reassurance that you will remain, quote, a nonpartisan leader through and through, unquote, with one of your top priorities being maintaining the independence of the U.S. military. Along with remaining apolitical, I'm sure you will agree that fostering a stable, mission-focused environment is essential to leading the Department of Defense. So my question for you, sir, is can you please share with this committee and the American people what your approach to leadership as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is?
Yes, sir. It's certainly the job is one to understand the global set of challenges, integrate the options that must be considered, and then to present those options to the president. And I've always taken a servant leadership approach throughout my career based on my oath of office and the Constitution and my commission.
And as a nonpartisan leader, you reiterate that.
Always, yeah, I reiterate that.
Well, thank you. And as a former lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy Reserve, I certainly agree with that and agree with your answers and your commitment to the men and women in uniform. Secretary Hegseth, your approach to leadership, I believe, stands in direct conflict with the ideas that we just discussed with General Kane. And at a time of great chaos and uncertainty in the world, I'm extremely concerned that your many shortcomings could have potentially life-threatening consequences for American service members. In your confirmation hearing, I expressed my deep reservations about your qualifications to run the DoD. I also made it clear that no board of directors in the world would hire someone with so little experience to run a large business, much less the Department of Defense, where American lives are on the line regularly. For this reason, in addition to some concerns we had about character, I ultimately opposed your nomination. And unfortunately, my reservations have become reality. I know my colleagues have touched on some of these issues, but to briefly summarize, you have failed to set the example, or lead from the front, as you like to say. And this includes prompting a leadership and oversight vacuum at the department by firing qualified uniformed leaders without cause, creating loyalty tests and leak investigations that have led to 5 of your senior advisors resigning or being fired, sharing classified military details on an unsecure app during operations in Yemen that included unauthorized individuals on at least 2 separate occasions, and revoking the DoD personal protection detail for both Secretary of Defense Mark Esper and the former Chairman of Joint Chiefs Mark Milley, putting their safety at risk while they are still under threat from Iran. We have seen time and time again how your conduct, lack of personal responsibility, are harming readiness, reputation, and professionalism of our military. At a time where Israel and Iran are in open conflict and our adversaries in Russia and China will exploit any weaknesses, unfortunately, my worst fears about your leadership shortfalls, unfortunately, have been realized. Secretary Hesketh, I firmly believe that accountability from leadership is vital in all sectors, not just in the military. And demonstrating to your subordinates that everyone plays by the same rules helps to build trust and open communications within your team. And those two things are extremely important. And I know that you share my desire to ensure that we're holding our senior leaders accountable for actions. And during your nomination hearing, you stated, quote, accountability is coming because everybody in this room knows if you are a rifleman and you lose your rifle, they are throwing the book at you, end of quote. You also said that leadership has been unwilling to take accountability. And I couldn't agree more on how important accountability is. As we all know, at the request of this committee, the Department of Defense Inspector General launched an investigation into your use of Signal, an unclassified commercially available messaging application to discuss information pertaining military actions in Yemen. So given your focus on accountability, how will you demonstrate this accountability to the men and women in the U.S. military if the Inspector General finds that you improperly disclosed information?
That assessment is pending at this time.
That is a hypothetical question, but the gentleman's time has expired.
I think your answer is clear. You are not going to be held accountable.
Thank you very much, Senator Peters.
Senator Lindsey Graham's remarks during the Army budget hearing were a masterclass in fear-driven politics. Using a $185.9 billion budget as his launchpad, Graham rattled off an apocalyptic threat matrix featuring Putin, Iran, China, and even Death to America Day, arguing that more military spending is the only way to preserve peace. In his view, diplomacy is a lost cause, and force is now the only language worth speaking. His unwavering support for Trump's no nukes for Iran stance and praise for Israel's alleged readiness to strike by force reveals a dangerous appetite for escalation over strategy. Graham dismissed hypotheticals when convenient and amplified them when it suited his narrative, painting Iran as a religious Nazi threat while pushing a near inevitability of war if military investment doesn't skyrocket. The irony, he claims not to want war, but his words pave the runway for exactly that. Meanwhile, in a separate hearing, Senator Peters offered a much-needed contrast by steering the conversation toward integrity and accountability within the Defense Department. Addressing General Kane first, Peters reaffirmed the importance of nonpartisan leadership and constitutional duty, key pillars of civilian-military trust. But his tone quickly sharpened when questioning Secretary Hegseth, whose tenure has raised serious concerns. Peters detailed a damning list, a leadership vacuum, loyalty tests, data breaches via unsecured apps, and endangering former top officials by revoking protection. It wasn't just a critique, it was a reckoning. When pressed about an ongoing Inspector General investigation into potential mishandling of sensitive military communications on Signal, Secretary Hegseth dodged responsibility, hiding behind hypotheticals. But Peters didn't let it slide. He echoed what every service member deserves to hear from the top. Accountability isn't optional. If a rifleman loses his rifle, consequences are swift. Why should a secretary who mishandles classified information get a pass? This is the sharp divide between empty war cries and real leadership. Next up, we'll dive deeper into how GOP officials use the language of deterrence to justify unchecked power. Don't miss it. Subscribe now and stay tuned to Malcolm Varon Hearing with me, Malcolm.